really excited to share my story today. I was born in Mumbai and adopted to Denmark and raised by a Danish family. My parents had three biological children before they adopted me in 1972. Growing up with a Danish family had many different colors. I always felt different in my way of thinking, my color and skin. So I was asking a lot of questions when I was a child. But on the surface, you could think that I actually had everything as a child. But what people don't know or see is the visible weight that adoptees carry, like loss, shame, guilt, fear of rejection, and identity struggles. So I had all those, limiting beliefs when I was a child. And one of the first trauma that I encountered was in 1985. So my parents, they always been very giving. They always been paying for, you know, other children's education in Africa, in Asia. So in 1985, they made a decision to help this immigrant that came from Sri Lanka. And he came to our family to learn about the Danish culture, learn about, how we are as a family in the Danish society. So he came multiple times every month to visit our family. And one night, he asked to stay in our house. That night changed my life for the rest of my life. For more than 30 years, 40 years, I wasn't able to speak about what happened that night. He took something from me that I would never get back. I was sexually assaulted that night. It was never reported to the police. I was never taken to a counselor the next day. But my parents never asked me how I was feeling the next day. And that became a silence, that became pain that I swallowed. For more than 30 years, I wasn't able to speak about it. I buried the pain, and I cooked the only way I knew how, through food. So when he came to our house, he brought me chocolate. What I didn't know that chocolate I associated with the pain, but that pain became my addiction to have chocolate addiction in my life. So I craved chocolate for so many years. But it also became my escape. It became my comfort because I was dealing with the pain that I sort of was coping with. And then the only way I sort of could do it to eat chocolate. But the truth is, when trauma is buried, it doesn't die. And last year in 2024, my body was forced to face it when I suffered a third degree burn. A physical manifestation of the anger that I suppressed for so many years. It wasn't until I encountered Tony Robbins back in 2013 that I discovered, you know, the life experiences we have, the trauma we have in our life is our gift. We can actually help other people to release their trauma by sharing our story, sharing our life experiences. If you asked me 15 years ago if I would think that my sexual trauma, sexually assault that happened when I was 13 years old, would be a gift in my life to share with others, to help others to heal, I would think you'd be crazy. I wouldn't believe you. But also, it was not the only thing that I, you know, experienced in my life. I have experienced racism. I have experience, to be bullied, in school. But I see them as gift, but I see them as a way that I can teach others, to heal from those life experiences in life. And today, I feel that I'm a gift to adoptees and foster care individual as well because I walk the talk. I feel I have a PhD in thinking how we feel as adoptees. I'm here to any adoptees that feel unseen, unheard, and unworthy. I never loved myself. Being sexually assaulted and, being adopted as well, it creates a wound within yourself and a wound of lack of love, lack of self love. So I always craved love my entire life. But when I started loving myself, and that was when I encountered Tony Robbins, he truly taught me how to love myself, but also see the blessings in my life. Be grateful, have grace in your life, being grateful for being adopted. I was born in India. I was born in one of the biggest cities in the world where they have more poverty than anywhere else in the world. But I have grace that my parents decided to adopt me to Denmark. So therefore, being adopted, I feel is a gift. I hear many stories. I hear many difficult trauma stories about adoptees that being, abused and the adoptive parents are not treating them well, which is really, really sad for me to hear about. But when it comes to adoptees, it's really about loving yourself unconditionally. And that's why I have, developed this love triad. The love triad stands for love, oneness, victory, and empower. With those four components, you can actually start living a fulfilling life because loving yourself unconditionally, feeling oneness with yourself and everything around you and the universe and with God, things start shifting and you start encounter victories in your life. Tony always taught me, life is happening for me. And I couldn't really understand that, but until I met him, I've always felt that life was happening to me. I felt it was unfair. I hated myself. I had the wrong color. I was experiencing racism. I was sexually assaulted. How could that possible be happening for me when I was feeling it was to me, right? But that sentence has ever since gotten me through life. A life is happening. So when I encounter any challenge in life or I feel something is unfair, I always remind myself about what Tony told me. Life is happening for you. And I'm truly saying this because I wouldn't be sitting here today speaking to all of you on Trauma Talk if it wasn't for that. I will go back to year 2022 because I took one of my most important decisions in my life to leave the country where I grew up. I was raised by a loving Danish family. I had a loving family. But there was something that always drawn to me that was traveling to United States. I felt home there. I felt I was fitting into the culture. I never felt that I was fitting in Denmark. I worked in Denmark for more than 20 years, but I was never fitting in. I was never promoted for any jobs I took on. So there was something that drew me to United States in 2022. That was the moment I made a decision. I had to say goodbye to my family, and we were encountering some pandemic challenges and issues within the family that ended up with domestic violence. And I had to leave. So I took the decision. So I bought a one-way ticket to the United States to create the life that I want to have, the dream that I want to create, and freedom. for myself and to heal for all that I've been experiencing in my entire life. It's been a journey the last 3 years, but two things have gotten me through those 3 years. Number one, life is always happening for me. Anything that I experience or challenges or traumas. The second thing is faith, trust, and belief. Those are the words that I live by every single day. And I took another important decision in Florida in October last year to go to New York, New York City. I've been there years ago, but I was guided to go to New York to solve my immigration status that I lost in 2023. And I was guided in Florida to go down to a church, and I went down there for 10 times. Nothing happened. The 10th time I opened the door and walked in, and I shared my story with this lady that was at church that day. And I said, "Is there a way I can get to New York, with a bus or whatever?" And she said, "Well, we actually sometimes help people like you." And she gave me a flight ticket to New York. So I came to New York on the 27th of October, 2024. On October 28th, I did something that I don't think anyone would do. I walked into Roosevelt Hotel in Manhattan, and I said what I experienced in life. I was interrogated by four officers. I said I'm seeking asylum in the United States of America. I was very confident when I walked in, and I was very calm. I don't know, I would think that I was very nervous when you being interrogated by four officers in Roosevelt Hotel, but Roosevelt Hotel is today what I call Ellis Island. So, you know what happened 50, 100 years ago in Ellis Island, that all the immigrants came to the United States. That was what I did on the 28th of October. I went into Ellis Island, in my opinion. What I witnessed in there, I don't think anyone would want to experience, but there was so much beautiful experience in what I saw in the witness. I saw families, I saw children that was traveling alone, and they were crying. I saw single men in there, and it was a night that I will never forget. And how did I actually have the courage to do that? I can speak my heart from that because that's a life experience that have given me the courage to do that, to recover from the trauma that I had in my life, have made me who I am today, to keep moving forward, to keep put one foot in front of the other, and just keep moving, and you will by then end by your destination. And for my case, that is United States of America. So now I'm here in New York City, and life is still happening for me. And I will not share everything that I experienced here in New York City because it's not pleasant. But I have experienced and moved 7 times in 1.5 weeks. And how can I keep going? Why I'm not just going back? Why I'm not giving up? No, because I want the freedom. I want the freedom to do what I desire in my life. I want the freedom to help others. I want the freedom to create the emergency call center that I want to create for adoptees and foster care, to give them a lifeline for crisis, a lifeline that I didn't have when I was in Denmark, a lifeline I didn't have when I was experiencing the sexually assault, or when my parents tried to raise me in Denmark. So I want to create this. That is what is keep pushing me forward to take one step further and take one day more, 1 hour, 1 second more. I'm not giving up on my dream, but I will say this for anyone that's out there and struggling and having pain and suffering, when you start thinking about just having grace for like small things, just like hot water. We love to take cold shower. Yeah, I do that when it's 100 degrees outside, but not when it's winter. I don't like cold shower. But when we start having grace for small things, that is when our lives start changing. So when I encountered Tony Robbins, he taught me about grace. He taught me about being grateful for that I was adopted. He taught me about loving myself. So my mission in life is also to teach people to love themselves, give them the courage to keep going, no matter what's happening. We are all here on this planet to create a purpose, to create a mission. And what I have found when I came to New York is really finding God, finding faith, finding God's love. And that's why I'm here today. That's why I'm being invited to Trauma Talks. And now I'm going to speak on Broadway, which I never thought in my entire life was a possibility. I never thought that something that could happen for me. So when we start loving ourselves and trusting, the trust, I just want to speak a little bit about trust because I lost the trust in everything when I was sexually assaulted. So I had to rebuild the trust in life, trust other people. Because my family was the one, I wasn't their hand. I wasn't their, they were my family. I had to count on them. But when I experienced the sexually assault, the trust was gone. Trusting that I was safe, trusting that I was secure in this world. So the last 3 years, I have built up the trust to trust myself, believe in myself, loving myself. And that is why I'm here today. Share with you that love is important, self-love. I have a challenge right now where I teach self-love and self-care because it's so important. We nurture our spirit, our soul. That makes us alive. That makes us alive, but it's also fulfilling the soul, fulfilling you. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. That life is precious. Life can be beautiful, even though it can be awful sometimes. But just take one more step, one more second, one more hour, and one more day, and keep going. Thank you.